I'm Matt Brown, and joining me today is Phil Robertson, world champion sailor, and of course Marco Orams, AUT sailing professor, and this is your America's Cup news show, Beyond the Cup. Phil, first of all, a heartbreaking day for American Magic. They needed to win at least one race to keep it alive. They had system failures in the second race, outsailed in the first.
Yeah, look, I really feel for the guys, to be honest. I think I've put myself in situations like that before where you have a big crash sort of leading into a series, and it's tough. It's tough to come back from. The boat just doesn't feel right. It's not the same as what it used to be, and mentally there's probably a few blocks as well, and they just never sparked. They didn't have anything. They didn't win a start. They didn't go the right way, really. They didn't have an opportunity to. So, yeah, it's tough. I feel for them. They never really had an opportunity to hit their groove.
And Marco, was it just going to be too much of a fairy tale? I mean, the capsize was massive, the boat was sinking, they rebuilt the boat, they did well to get back out on the water, but were we just being a little bit too maybe optimistic for their chances?
Yeah, I've said it several times leading into this this semi-final series, is that hope is never a winning strategy, Matt, and unfortunately that's what ended up happening, is that American Magic did not have enough time to build the confidence in the replacement systems and the repairs that they'd done. And as a consequence, they ended up going out there and hoping, and that's never going to win you a yacht race.
By contrast, Phil, Rossa had spent the last 2 weeks further developing their boat, certainly the last week since that loss to the British Ineos Team UK, and they looked slick, didn't they, in all four races?
Oh, incredibly slick. They came out firing, they won every start. And yeah, they had 2 weeks to sort of develop their boat and program, and they're a different team. I think that lost to Ineos Team UK in that last round robin series. They could have gone and won that and gone through to the final in first place. But yeah, they got a shake up, which I think is good. And you need that in sport. You need to take a loss every now and then to really stir the pot and make you think about what you're doing. So good time for development, and great for the headspace and the sailing team to have a loss there. And
Marco, going back to American Magic though, Phil touched on it briefly at the start here. The starts have been dreadful for them right through the regatta, the round robins that they did compete, and of course over the last 2 days.
Yeah, it surprised me actually. I mean, Dean Barker is an outstanding match racer. He's won a number of world championships in that discipline. He knows how to start, and he knows how to use the rules to his advantage. We just did not see the best of Dean Barker through this series. And I can't help thinking that Patriot didn't do that team any favours. Not just the capsize, but I think it was a boat that was moded and designed for fast, straight line speed. And they didn't have the confidence when it came to actually pushing the boat into really tight turns on the foils or around the marks, as we saw.
And Phil, just on that, in the start, being aggressive, we've seen that with Sir Ben Ainsley, with Jimmy Spittle, but Dean Barker just didn't seem, you're right, didn't have that confidence, did he, to really go, maybe just not confidence in the equipment.
yeah, possibly in the equipment. It's time as well, the more you do, and these guys have done such little racing in the last 4 years. They don't know how to start these boats. They're learning to start these boats, and some teams have learned a little bit faster and done a better job of it, and yeah, they just weren't nailing the basics either. The entries coming in on time, positioning the boat in the right spot just to enter at that 2 minutes 10, and that's just snowballing into a loss. So it's hard when you don't get the basics right.
It did look like the Italians had an edge. They've improved the performance of their boat around the course. They have got the new fours on, but they're still very good on the light winds.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they are showing steps forward from where they were when they lost that very narrow race to Ineos Team UK a little over 10 days ago. And what we've seen now is that they've not only been able to improve their performance in the higher wind strengths, but they haven't seemed to have compromised their performance in the light. And we've seen that with Team New Zealand as well. Even though Team New Zealand has the smallest of all of these teams' foil packages, which is generally something that's considered to be a higher speed kind of mode, in the light winds, Team New Zealand's just fine. And we're seeing the same thing now with Rossa as well. So they have definitely stepped it forward. And it's impressive to see that that they're going to be very, very competitive going into the Prada Cup finals.
I mentioned sport, agony and ecstasy, and for American Magic, Phil, 3.5 years in the making. They were the first team to arrive in Auckland. They thought they had the boat to get through to the America's Cup match, but they just haven't won one single race, despite looking good in the pre-Christmas regatta.
Oh, they were the form boat coming in. I had my money on them. I think they were the boat everyone was looking at, saying, right, they're the complete package. They're fast, they're slick, they're getting their manoeuvres right, but they've just gone backwards almost since that date in December when they were racing. And they bet Team New Zealand. They're the only team to have done that in that AC World Series event, and they're going home now, and it's bad, and they're obviously going to review it, and it is sport. It's brutal at times.
Terry Hutchinson, using the word brutal, Marco, absolutely beside himself, really, and rightly probably too, because he wore it on his sleeve, didn't he? He fronted everything during this campaign, shielded Dean Barker for the most part, but really he, took it on his shoulders.
Yeah, I have to say, really impressed with Terry Hutchinson as a leader. The true character of somebody comes out in times of adversity, and we've seen him being honest, we've seen him being open and emotional too. He's shown that this hurts him, and that's something I think all of us can relate to and empathise with. This is not easy when you put your heart and soul into something, and especially he got emotional when talking about the team. He knows he's the leader of that team. He knows how hard his team has worked, and so he's enormously disappointed for them. So, hats off Terry Hutchinson, great sportsman, wonderful leadership, especially over these difficult times.
Phil, what will his debrief look like, do you think?
Whoosh, it won't be pretty. They won't be too happy. Look, I'm going to assume they're going to be talking a lot about looking at the program in a whole. They're not going to look at the racing, the last little details of what they did right and wrong. It's the program in a big scale, the 3 years. What could they have done better? And hopefully we'll see them go forward, because it's a campaign like that where you do learn a lot, that you're going to take that into the next one and be a much stronger team. So here's hoping they're back. And
Marco, what about the future for Dean Barker?
Well, it's a big question, isn't it? I mean, Dean's sort of the elder statesman of the fleet now, at 47 years old, Terry 52, so... and we look at the successful recipe, what we see is that recipe looks like somebody like Peter Burling. Somebody who's in his 20s, who's come out of the red-hot competitive environment of the Olympic Games, who's won a world championship in the foiling moth class. That's what the future looks like, and that was proven to be the case in Bermuda. So you have to question now whether people like Dean Barker are the future successful recipe for the America's Cup.
Well, Chico, the first thing he said was, let's get revenge now for Ineos Team UK, Phil, and they have quickly turned into race mode for 2 weeks' time for that final best of 13 race series. Do you think they go in as favourites?
That's tough. I think Ineos Team UK have been sailing out of their skin. They've been, that round robin series, they were firing. They were getting everything right, from the tactics, the starting, the motoring of the boat. They were fast. They were making the right calls. They were the complete package, but they haven't raced. Wouldn't have raced for 3-4 weeks. So that's going to play into the hands of Luna Rossa Prada, and they're coming off a win. They've got confidence, momentum on their side, and yeah, they both said it, Keko and Jimmy Spittle after the finish, Ineos Team UK, you're next.
And just on that, Marco, 4 races. They weren't overly competitive. The first race today was reasonably close, but do you think that will just give them that little edge? 4 more races that they've had that Ineos haven't.
Probably not, because they were such easy wins. I mean, they won the starts, they led around every single mark, they never once had to attack from behind to try and manufacture a pass. They just stretched the entire time. So if we're to sort of look at a weakness out of this semi-final series, is it hasn't been a tough one for Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. It's been easy. Certainly they've stepped forward speed-wise, but it's easy to sail well when you're going fast. It's easier to look like a brilliant sailing team when you win the start and you're able to stretch. What the real test is that race that they had in the final race of the round robins against Ineos Team UK, where it's neck and neck the whole way around, where you're having to defend somebody who's coming at you, when you're having to try and manufacture a pass in the final seconds of the race to the finish line. That's the stuff that Ben Ainsley and Giles Scott have shown that they've been superior at so far. And Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli has not been tested in the semi-final series.
Have we learnt any more, Phil, about the dual helmsman and the way that's working on the boat?
No, I don't think so. My personal opinion is it's a weakness for the team. I don't see it as a strength in the fact that one's not crossing. They just got split roles. They're helmsmen, tacticians, flight controllers, and when you're tacking and jibing every minute and a half, you're changing roles so often, and it's so hard just to focus on one thing when your roles are so split. So I think the Ineos Team UK set up slightly better, especially when the race course is in the harbour, under North Head, and you're getting those shifty sou'westers.
Marco, Luna Rossa did look quicker though, didn't they? From what we saw previously in the round robin, they may have increased their speed overall and just slicker than they were. Just the way they sailed the race courses, they never made any mistakes pretty much in over 4 races.
Yeah, I think the biggest gain that they've made is looking at their VMG upwind. And by that I mean that they're able to sail a slightly closer angle towards the mark that they're wanting to go to than in this case American Magic was. So they've definitely made some gains with regard to that. They also seem to have made gains from what we can see in terms of their ability to push the boat hard at the upper wind strength. Now yesterday, remember, we were right on the edge. And I was really impressed with the way they handled themselves around the racetrack in conditions that for any of the teams were very, very risky. And they managed those risks well. They look now like they've got a package, a complete package across the wind range that they can trust. That means they can race at 100% of what they want to. So that's a good recipe as they move towards the Prada Cup finals.
So Ineos Team UK await Luna Rossa in the Prada Cup Challenger Final, a best of 13 race series starting on the 13th of February, going through, if needed, to the 22nd of February. So you've got to win 7 races. The winner will take on Emirates Team New Zealand for the Old Mug starting on March the 6th. And we'll have live commentary of all the Prada Cup final action on Gold AM and also iHeartRadio. Peter Montgomery alongside Chris Steele bringing you all the action. Well, while all the Prada Cup Challenger semi-final and soon final series is underway, what's going on with Team New Zealand? They'll be watching this pretty closely, I'm sure, Market.
Well, they've still been working hard out there. Te Rahutai's been out there on the Hauraki Golf and they've been testing some new foils that they put on a week ago. And the intel I've got is that they're going even faster. They're pretty happy with their progress. So Team New Zealand's doing what they need to do. Focus on improving their boat day after day. They must keep improving because they can see what's happening with the challenges. So it's a chase all the way through to the end of the America's Cup. Not just race 1, but right through to the end.
And Phil, I think Grant Dalton and Terry Hutchinson get on okay. Do you think the Americans will stay on as a training boat for Team New Zealand, or is that just far-fetched?
Well, I'm sure Emirates Team New Zealand would love that, but I have no doubt those doors will be closed in a week or two's time and it will be all over for them. So no.
Stay with us for all our coverage of the Prada Cup and the America's Cup. Thanks so much to Phil Robertson and also Marco Orams. They'll be back alongside Bianca Cook with our continued coverage on our America's Cup news show, Beyond the Cup.